Good afternoon. It is the Fantasy Football Classroom. I'm your host, Nick. How are y'all doing this afternoon? Bindles is going to be showing up in about 30 minutes, but until then, I'm just going to hop on underdog and we can just go ahead and draft. Honestly, dunking after darks for basketball. That's what I'm just going to do for the next 30 minutes until Bindles gets here. So let me go ahead and pull that up. Or, you know what? Looks like Underdog has just released the rankings for the 2026 season. I'm going to pull those up and we take a look at those. All right, let's take a look here. All right, so at quarterback. Nothing seems to have changed. I do want to take a look at Fernando Mendoza before. Okay, so his still looking about the same. Let's see, running backs. So they're starting Jeremiah Love's ADP at 31. I do think it's going to raise a little bit higher than this. Yeah, the Cardinals was not a good landing spot, but it wasn't so bad enough to drop him to pick 31. That's about a 15 pick difference we have here for Jeremiah Love. Yeah, I don't know. I think if he stays at 31 for the first few days of the tournament in my drafts, he's going to be a priority target for me. And we'll take a look at some of the rookie receivers. Because they have Devonta Smith starting out as 26 ADP. They're baking in, the eventual A.J. Brown trade. But let's see. Let's take a look at Carnell Tate. Okay, so starting him at 59. Makai Lemon. Starting him at 74. As well as, who was the other one? Tyson. So starting Tyson at 71. Okay. I mean, it's not too bad. That's pretty in line. Similar to where I'd have him. I'd push Makai Lemon up above Jordyn Tyson. The wide receiver 2 in the Eagles offense, as much as people like to clown on Jalen Hurts, he's still a good quarterback, and he has still produced Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown to be both 1,000-yard receivers in the last, 4 years since they've been there. They've been 1,000-yard receivers. So it is strange to think, I know Makai Lemon's a rookie. He's not A.J. Brown, but he should start the ground off running. I think I value him a little bit higher than 74. Let's take a look here. So in pre-draft big board, Carnell Tate's ADP leveled off at 59. That's the same that they're trying to start him off with now. I know. I like that. I can get down with that. I think he'll probably raise as rookie fever goes up. He's going to be the highest he's ever been, starting when the tournament starts, I think. I think once more casual players join in July and August, he might fall a little bit. Plus, it's the Tennessee offense. Jordyn Tyson having to compete with Chris Olave, that's going to be tough for him. He should slot right into the wide receiver 2 position. Kellen Moore is a great head coach. He's a great offensive mind. I think that he's going to be able to get Jordyn Tyson some good work starting off with in his career. It is interesting, though, because Jordyn Tyson's ADP in the big board when it was ending was 71. So they have him about the same. So Tate and Tyson are staying in the same ADP. And it looks like Makai Lemon, whenever the big board ended, they had him at 64.5. So they expect him to be starting off at 74. I still think I'd take him in the 60s range. I still think I'd take him in the 5th or 6th round. So we'll see what happens there. Interesting landing spots will be Casey Concepcion. So 109 for him is where they have him started, and Denzel Boston at 143. They don't have any changes between those two as far as their ADPs go from the big board going into Best Ball Mania. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. I do think Concepcion will stay where he is, and I think Boston may fall. Let's take a look at Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy's at 160. This does feel wrong. I think it needs to be in this order: Casey Concepcion, Jerry Jeudy, then Denzel Boston. There's a slight chance that Boston could beat Jeudy out by the end of the season, especially if Jeudy, something happens to him. It seems like they were having a youth movement there in Cleveland with their offense. They have a lot of early 20-year-olds on the offense. Shedeur Sanders is 21 or 22. Quinshaw Judkins, this is in early 20s, as well as Dylan Sampson, backup running back, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Harold Fannin. So it seems like guys like Jerry Jeudy might be out the door. We'll see what happens as the season progresses. Some things that shocked me a little bit was Chris Bell falling to the third round. Chris Bell falling to the third round shocked me a little bit. So they have his ADP set to. So there's currently no ADP for Chris Bell right now. He's someone that I would target in the 18th round of my drafts, honestly. Another thing that shocked me, Raiders, they didn't draft. They drafted one receiver, and he's not even on. Yeah, is the receiver the Raiders drafted even in the player pool? I don't see him. I do not think I see the receiver that was in there that they drafted in the 7th round. That's interesting. Let's take a look here. Malik Benson was his name. Malik Benson. Let's see. Yeah, the receiver that the Raiders drafted in the 7th round is not in the player pool. That's interesting. That is someone that I was potentially going to think about targeting while drafting, just because the wide receiver room, no offense to Jalen Naylor, Trey Tucker, and Jack Bech, they're a pretty decent trio, but obviously all their ADPs are 160 and below. We'll see what happens as time goes on, but I'm just not entirely sold on Malik Benson not being in the player pool. Mike Washington being at 144. We'll see what happens with that. I do think he's going to fall a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes, because he's all contingent on Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty can do it all. So we'll see what happens with them. If I'm playing anything for the Raiders, Fernando Mendoza is not going to be a target for me. But if I have Bowers, I might, aim to stack with him. Let's take a look at some other teams. The Jets. Yes, the Jets. Take a look at the Jets. So I'm not entirely sure as far as Kenyon Sadiq and Mason Taylor. I do think that this might need to be swapped. I'm not really sold on Kenyon Sadiq. I don't think I'm going to draft him that much. I'm not saying Mason Taylor is a better tight end, but Kenyon Sadiq came into the NFL so rough and not as refined of a tight end. He's drafted based solely off of his athletic ability, which is fine, but it might not lend itself to a good fantasy start for Kenyon Sadiq. But we shall see what happens. Sorry, just take a look at the screen here. Okay. the Omar Cooper with Garrett Wilson. This all but might kill Adonai Mitchell, AD Mitchell. It might kill him a little bit. I'm just not sure if I'd even want to touch any pieces from this team. The one thing that is really tough to talk about is this Cardinals backfield. Trey Benson, he's long gone. Tyler Algier is going to fall. James Conner is going to fall. As long as Jeremiah Love stays in the fourth round, like this is projecting, third round, like this is projecting, I think I will take him until he rises. He might be good as far as a what's the word I'm looking for? As an anchor running back start, taking him, and then starting with two receivers. What are some other teams that drafted some offensive weapons? Panthers. Let's take a look. So does Chris Brazzell, does that kill the Cokeheads? Does it kill Jalen Coker? That's going to be a great question to talk about. Ted McMillan, Tedero McMillan, I think he's going to stay at 33. We'll see what happens. Quarterbacks, nothing really changed there. There's nothing really, we knew Fernando is being drafted. The only question is who's going to start, Fernando Mendoza or Kirk Cousins? How long will the Raiders give Kirk Cousins to show that he still has some juice? How long will it take for him to learn behind Fernando Mendoza? We shall see. Running back rooms, Titans running back room. Not sure they got exploded during the draft with Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears, and Nick Singleton. But Nick Singleton is, I know he got drafted in the 5th round of the NFL draft, but if he is as good as was projected in college, I could see a world where he does beat out one of these Tennessee guys for their spot. Because we had known all offseason that the Titans wanted to add a running back to their room. Tyjae Spears, he's always had some knee issues, even dating back to his time at Tulane with his ACL tear. I mean, the rumor is, he has no knees. So we know that his life expectancy in the NFL is a little bit shorter, unfortunately, even though I do think he's a good player. Tony Pollard is getting up there in age. This team, they have Cam Ward. They drafted Carnell Tate. They signed Wan'Dale Robinson. It seems like this team is in for more of a youth movement. And I don't know if Pollard and or Spears are going to contribute to that long term. So if the end of the season and the Titans are not doing well, I could see Nick Singleton stepping onto the field for them. He is a good running back to potentially target later in drafts for especially zero running back builds. The biggest question mark to me is definitely this Dolphins wide receiver room with Malik Washington, Theo Weiss, Tutu Atwell, Jalen Tolbert, Kevin Coleman, Chris Bell, Caleb Douglas. They drafted, I'm not even sure how many. I know they drafted at least 3 wide receivers for the Dolphins. That is pretty tough. They know they need help. They're likely the number 1 overall pick next year, if not top 3. We're going to see where they go from here on out. Malik Willis is not the long-term answer. So let's take a look. They drafted Caleb Douglas, Chris Bell, Kevin Coleman Jr. Last week when I was talking, 2 weeks ago, whenever I was talking to Rick Aduzel and Nathan, they were thinking that, it was Emo Cowboy I was talking to last week. He was, projecting a veteran receiver signing with the Dolphins. With their moves in the draft, that feels more likely than ever. I just don't know how this team is going to go into the season and even contribute anything to the NFL. they might be the first 0-17 team. That's how bad it is. I know that people are saying the Jets and the Cardinals are that bad, but this Dolphins team is worse. The only shining light is, in fact, Devon Achane, Greg Dulcich. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting for them. Let's take a look. Let's see here. Eagles. One thing that interested me was the Eli Stowers pick. I'm an Eagles fan. I love Dallas Goedert. He returned on a one-year deal. Eli Stowers is a receiving tight end. They have a new offensive coordinator. Goedert is getting up there in age. He's entering his 9th season to the NFL. I would not be surprised if this is a situation like last year where Harold Fannin took David Njoku's job. Eli Stowers could take Dallas Goedert's job by the end of the season. Dallas Goedert has been a reliable tight end for Jalen Hurts, but it doesn't, mean that things can change, because things can change. Unfortunately, players get older, time happens as well. This might change the Eagles to run 2 tight end sets. Both of them are the 2 of the bigger bodies on the offense. Makai Lemon and Devonta Smith are both smaller receivers. They might use Dallas Goedert and Eli Stowers in 12 personnel, get them both on the field, get a big body out there, especially in the red zone. I think both of them will get some good red zone targets. They're both big and strong, and we'll see what happens with them. As far as anything else with the draft, let's see. Bengals didn't do much. Rams, let's see. The Ty Simpson stuff, that's not going to impact this year, but the Rams tight end carousel, that is already something, that you don't want to touch. Obviously, Terrence Ferguson is the highest projected as far as underdog goes. Max Klare, I believe he was drafted in the 3rd round. Yeah, Max Klare was drafted in the 3rd round. Might not touch any of these guys. If I'm playing through the Rams, I'm just going to keep it at Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. We'll see what happens at the end of drafts. If I'm, lacking at tight end, I might, number generator and pick whichever one it lands on. But I don't see myself actually going out and targeting any of these guys in best ball drafts. While we are waiting for Bindles to join us, go ahead and like and subscribe down below, please. I would appreciate it. The Chiefs, they're a team. This is a wide receiver room that survived the draft. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worley, they survived the draft. They only signed drafted Cyrus Allen, who honestly doesn't look like he's in the player pool. So the only other receiver for the Chiefs isn't in the player pool. So it's 2 players that we've seen so far drafted the other day that are not in the player pool, which it's unfortunate to see, but I understand their underdog is busy and they have a lot of stuff that they have going on. So, Cyrus Allen was drafted in the 5th round. So it's going to be hard for Rashee Rice and Xavier Worley to lose their jobs. Could a Tyreek Hill reunion be in the works? Could they be going out for Stephon Diggs, maybe Jawan Jennings, maybe a Keenan Allen? I know that was a rumor 2 years ago. That's going to be interesting to see. Atlanta, they drafted Zachariah Branch. To me, he is the clear number 2 on this team. Well, number 3. I don't think Olamide Zaccheaus. I don't think he's going to have much work. He's a reliable receiver. He is good for real life fantasy, real life football, but he is not a actual fantasy asset that can help. We'll see what happens. Jahan Dotson, he was a good receiver 3 for the Eagles for the last 2 seasons. He, did well, did okay at his time in Washington. Drafted 14th overall by the Commanders. He's on his 3rd stop in 4 years. We'll see what happens. They have a new head coach. Zachariah Branch seems like he would be a good complement to Drake London. He's a small receiver. Drake London's pretty big. We'll see what Zachariah Branch can do in open space. I've seen him compared to guys that are able to catch the ball and just run and get a lot of yak. Though 5'11", 195, 5'8", 195, whatever he is, that's going to be tough. The Giants, Malik Neighbors, Darnell Mooney, Darius Slayton, Makai Fields. We'll see what happens with them. Makai Fields, they drafted him in the 2nd round? Round 3. So we'll see what happens. I'm not entirely sure Makai Fields gets on the field year 1. I mean, no, he'll get on the field year 1, but I don't know if he's going to be fantasy relevant year 1. He might just be someone, late in the draft. You can, if you have Jackson Dart, stack him, or if you have the week 17 correlation, whoever that may be, you can stack them. But Makai Fields, interesting click at the end of the draft. The real winners of the Giants, though, are Cam Skattebo and Tyrone Tracy. With them not drafting a running back on this team, I know Skattebo's recovering from that ankle injury. Tyrone Tracy is a pretty decent running back, but all offseason, the Jeremiah Love rumors, as well as potential, trading for a running back or signing one in free agency. This works out really well for Cam. It's going to be interesting to see how much he rises, because I think Cam Skattebo does rise. I think the first few days of Best Ball Mania, when it releases tomorrow, if you're drafting, I think I would, make him a priority target. Around, mid 50s to late 60s. I would even take him as early as like pick 48, 47, 49. But we'll see what happens with him. Let's take a look at some other guys here. Chase Brown seems like he's another winner of the draft as well. I don't think the Bengals drafted a running back. There was, talk of them bringing in a guy in the draft. They gave top 30 visits to 3 running backs, Jaden Ott, Jeremiah Love, as well as, I think, Caden Black. All 3 of them were drafted before they had the chance. So I think let's take a look here. They drafted one receiver, Colby Young. So Chase Brown survived the draft. I like him at his pick 21 price. I don't know if I'd take him much higher than that. He's definitely a priority if he falls in some picks. They did take a receiver, not Colby Young in the 4th round. From the Scouts Inc. website on ESPN, they have his pre-draft analysis as Young has an excellent build with prototypical size. He is not going to beat defensive backs through pure speed on every down basis, but he has traits to be a good route runner, displaying fluidity and a strong ability to cut back for the ball. Young will fight through contact at the top of his routes and play strong at the catch point. So I don't know if he's going to automatically, compete with Andrea for that wide receiver 3 spot. He could. We'll see what happens, but late in drafts, if I have Joe Burrow, why not take Colby Young? Some other guys here. Another interesting portion of the draft, many people were expecting the Buffalo Bills to draft a receiver earlier than they did. So it's interesting to see that their first receiver taken was Skyler Bell. And he's the only receiver they took. So they have DJ Moore, Khalil Shakur, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer. They have some other guys too, but Skyler Bell, they drafted him in the 4th round. Keon Coleman is a cut candidate or a trade candidate for them. Obviously, they took him in the first round 2 or 3 years ago. They sat him for a game last year due to off the field concerns. On the field, he also has not been that great. Skyler Bell could pop up to that wide receiver 3 role. Josh Palmer might be expendable for them. Skyler Bell is a big body receiver. NFL, ESPN has, he's 5'11", 192. Sorry, he's not a big body. Thought he was. He earned consensus All-American honors in 2025 as a wide receiver. He has a versatility line at both in the slot and outside, possessing sufficient size and vertical speed. So he seems like a down the field guy, which is different than Khalil Shakur as well as DJ Moore. DJ Moore and Khalil Shakur are both short yardage guys. So Josh Allen may be bringing some of that deep ball with Skyler Bell down the field. He could offer a good spike week, I think, especially in the fantasy playoffs. If I have Josh Allen and I was unable to get DJ Moore or Khalil Shakur, Skyler Bell would be my option over Keon Coleman and Josh Palmer for stacking purposes in Best Ball Mania. Let's take a look at some other teams here. So we'll talk about the Eagles, Arizona, Falcons, Baltimore. We can talk about Baltimore. They went out and grabbed some guys in the draft, offensive weapons. So first they drafted Elijah Sarratt. They drafted Jacoby Lane first. Let me get this up here. So Zay Flowers, Sarratt, Bateman, Tez, Walker. So they drafted Jacoby Lane and Elijah Sarratt. They gave them both pretty decent capital. 3rd round, Jacoby Lane. Sarratt was rumored to have, potentially gone in the 3rd round as well. I think both of them immediately beat out Tez Walker and Rashad Bateman. I think Jacoby Lane will quickly be the wide receiver 2 on this team, and Sarratt will be the wide receiver 3. It seems like they are putting an emphasis on getting Lamar Jackson help in the receiver room to not just rely on Zay Flowers or whatever older receivers rotating through that year. This will be interesting stacking partners with him. Jacoby Lane with the higher draft capital, I do have him, I would have him a little bit higher than Elijah Sarratt, but they're both good options. Derrick Henry, they did draft Adam Randall. Adam Randall is a converted wide receiver to running back. So we'll see what happens with that. Hold on. So Adam Randall converted from wide receiver to running back at Clemson last year. He's 6'3", 232 pounds. That was a pretty decent comp to Derrick Henry. He is big, he's fast, he's strong. It seems like they, contingent handcuff to Derrick Henry. I don't think it would be I don't think it really would be Justice Hill or Rashawn Ali. I think those 2 guys will have their purpose as the 3rd down back, the receiving back. But if something happens to Derrick Henry, Adam Randall is the guy that I would want to get over those 2. I know he was drafted in the 5th round, but he could make an impact. Let's take a look at some other teams here. Buffalo, we talked about. Carolina. Let's take a look at Panther stuff. So they did draft Chris Brazel. Not entirely sure. They did draft him over Jalen Coker. Chris Brazell was projected to be a second round pick, but I believe they drafted him in the third. Let me take a look here. So they drafted him in round 3. He was projected to have round 2 draft capital. He's 6'5". He's a big body receiver. The only thing that concerns me is he went to Tennessee. Just because Tennessee receiver seems to, be a scam in the NFL. But Bindles is here. What's up, Bindles? How are you?
GM, brother. How's your Sunday going?
Good, man. I was just talking through some rookies. Going good. Just waiting for my Sixers game to turn on to hopefully tie the series up or hopefully not go down 3-1.
Yeah, man. No, it's I'm very excited. I know it's like, it's not that it wasn't the best draft. Everyone's, seems a little bit down, but I think the rookie hype will build throughout the summer. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk through this with you for a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So this is my first episode of what I'm going to title the Fantasy Football Classroom. I'm a teacher, so I'm going to bring some of my teaching elements into this. So I'm going to go and share what I have for us, and I'm going to put you through a little bit of a lesson plan here, and we can take a look and see what happens. So first, as any good teacher will do, they'll have a bell ringer at the start of class. My bell ringer, rank these risers. Who had the biggest rise between the big board and Best Ball Mania as a rookie?
Ooh. I feel like it's Sky Moore. I feel like that's my final answer, just vibes based.
Okay, you're correct. Sky Moore's the answer. Would you be willing to guess how far of a jump that was?
I know he ended up going. Is it big board just like first month or like overall big board final ADP?
Where they ended at the big board versus where they ended in BBM.
Okay, got it. So total over the summer. I know he ended up steaming up to like the 80s, and I think he probably ended the big board probably 150s or something like that. I would say probably 140s, 150s, something like that.
You pretty close. These were the top 4 risers as far as the data that I have from going from big board to Best Ball Mania. Sky Moore actually rose 120 spots between the into the big board. Yeah. So, and these were the 4 guys, and I'm sure you're not surprised that these were the 4 that were up there.
That's pretty crazy. I don't know. I feel like because Wandale went second round, Keon went second round. Mims was second round, end of second round, early third round. I think he was maybe second third round. I think he was either late second or very early third. So
I have it up right here. He went the second to last pick in the second round.
Okay. So it's just snuck in there.
Yeah, just snuck in. So I just had this set up, round 1 guys, Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Love, Carnell, Tate, Kenyon Sadiq, the Jordyn Tyson as well. The second half of round 1 is on the next slide. Do any of these 5 guys stick out to you as someone who is an immediate contributor? I was taking a look at Underdog already put out their rankings for Best Ball Mania. I was going through those. They have Jeremiah Love at an ADP of 31. To me, that's just someone that I would want to target unless he rises more, because 31 feels good even with the crowded running back room.
Yeah, I don't really care about the crowded running back room. Like, it doesn't. He's going to be the guy getting most of the work. Anyone else? Tate, I feel like he'll probably be around the same range he was going previous to he might be a slight variability, a couple picks up, or probably not down, I would say, because it's a good landing spot. So probably like pick 50-ish would seem reasonable. He might get steamed up later in the summer. Tyson, definitely, I think it's a good landing spot. Like I really like the Saints. I think outside of, Olave is a very good target earner. Like he always pushes for 30% ish target share. But I think outside of that, it's like Juwan Johnson and then pretty much no one else. So I think it's a pretty good landing spot. I mean, it obviously depends on all the other questions with Tyson coming in. Like, can he just stay healthy? But good coach, I think it's a very good situation. So he was falling a little bit just with kind of the FUD around him. So I think I would put them pretty much back to back, Tate and Tyson. I don't really have a strong lean. Same thing with rookie drafts. Like I like both of them. I think probably market will have Tate above Tyson, but I view them pretty similar. I think Tate was a better prospect from like a floor perspective, but I think Tyson's ceiling might be a little bit higher at the very top range of outcomes. And then Sadiq, I mean, I think you can't really be too excited about Sadiq just with having Mason Taylor, who like, is he a world beater? No, but they'll probably be rotating. Not an amazing offense. They drafted Cooper as well. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, a very good target earner in that offense. So maybe 18th round, you tack on a Sadiq, just like 17th, 18th round as a guy for a stack or a bring back, but not someone I'm super interested in. Mendoza is an interesting one. I think it would be kind of more as we go along the summer, if we get a beat like in August that like he will start sooner rather than later, then I would definitely be more interested in him. I mean, I kind of, I don't know. I know they brought in Kirk Cousins, but I feel like it's kind of like you can only keep the genie in the bottle for so long before you let him cook. I know that's kind of like their plan is to bring him along slowly, but I think everyone has a plan until it's week 5 and your team is ass and you just like need some to inject some juice into your offense. So we'll see. But I agree on Love. If he starts at 31, I will definitely want a big bag of him. I mean, that's right. Like Breece Hall, it goes in that range. Like I think bad offense, but he's going to get most of the work. Pass catcher, explosive guy, like just got taken in the top 5 picks. Like that's maybe definitely not 1-2 turn guy, but that 31 is way too cheap. So.
Yeah, so I mean, we can all agree that Trey Benson, he's like a stone cold zero. Tyler Algier to me is definitely the backup running back. So to me, does that mean do they keep James Conner as their running back 3? Do they cut him? Do they trade him? Because what was his injury they had last year? Was it ACL or Achilles?
I think it was Achilles. Yeah.
And he was already an older back. So to me, Tyler Algier, yes, he's too expensive right now. They have him in the 130s right now as their ranks before we all get leg up or ETR, Spike Week, whichever your ranking source that you use. So I expect Love to rise. I expect Algier to fall, and then I think James Conner is going to be like in the 200s.
I think that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, they just have more investment in Algier and Conner, like you said, older. I think it was a broken ankle.
Okay. I was completely wrong.
Foot/ankle. So, I mean,
okay.
I think it was pretty bad though. So, I think Algier as like a pure handcuff, he'll probably work in. It's not like Love is going to be like a 80% snap share guy. I think it'd probably be 60-40. So Algier maybe has a little bit of standalone value more than you would expect. I mean, he had that even right with Bijan. He had 8 touchdowns last year or something like that. Obviously different coaching staff, different situation, but we'll see I wonder where Algier's initial ranking will be. And I think that'll kind of determine, but I mean, not a great offense where it's like, okay, yeah, he'll probably fall into, if contingent value, he will have it. I think he would be the guy that gets most of the work. That's an interesting one, but yeah, I agree. Love. But yeah, I think Tate and Tyson, like I'm actually pretty excited about those 2 landing spots. they're not the sexiest spots just from like a team perspective. You think Titans and Saints aren't super sexy, but I think if you dig deeper, like from the laundry, I think it's actually pretty exciting for those two. So I feel good about those, definitely. So
yeah, I would agree. Mendoza, somehow that wide receiver room survived the draft. Like they didn't take a receiver until the 7th round. We'll talk about him later, but Mendoza, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to touch him outside if I draft Brock Bowers and I get locked out of quarterback late and I'm going to need something. That's probably the only way I'm going to touch Mendoza is if I have Bowers or Genty and I don't have any other options behind Mendoza.
I definitely agree.
So let's go to the second half of round 1, guys. Makai Lemon, Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper, and Jadarian Price. Makai Lemon is the only one that I, feel certain in knowing something about. Ignore the Eagle stuff that's behind me. Jadarian Price, I think his price will rise. To what extent, we don't know. Yes, he's a round one rookie, but question marks coming into the draft as far as his prospect profile, getting hurt early in his college career, as well as being behind Jeremiah Love. Do any of these 4 guys stick out to you?
I think, stick out to me. I think both Lemon and Concepcion, I know the Browns also not sexy, but I do like Todd Monken. Obviously, quarterback situation isn't great, but I think between the two guys, I'm like, it should be okay. Not great by any means. But I think just like the Browns stink is it's actually not as bad of a situation as people think. And then I think Lemon, it's going to be a little crowded there, but I think he was a very, very fun prospect and it's a good organization. And if it's obviously AJ Brown is gone, they still have Goddard. They obviously drafted Stowers as well, but I think he's talented enough to, we'll see where his ADP ends up where he ends up. I think the cost could get too high if there gets too much hype. Omar Cooper, don't love it. I think same thing, price dependent. Like if he's just really cheap, which I kind of don't feel like he will be. He was still a 1st round pick, so I feel like he'll still get steamed up. I'll probably be out on Omar Cooper at cost. And then Jadarian Price, if you drafted him in the big board, you feel great. But I think other than I think someone was saying, I think Sack on a After Dark stream was saying I'll take him the first day, but then after that, I'm not really taking him after that. I kind of feel the same way. Yeah. With his profile coming in, it's just such a projection. He's a 1st round pick, but we've seen the Seahawks do this a bunch of times before. Just take a guy where it's probably don't deserve to go in the 1st round or early 2nd. Emmanuel Wilson is not spectacular, but solid. And they have Charbonnet coming back later on in the season. So I think it'll just probably be a little bit muddy. And I don't think he's the kind of guy where he can just take over a backfield. At least he could be, but I don't think that's what he is. So I think he'll probably get pushed up to 4th, 5th round. And I think that's just for the prospect profile, for the actual situation outside of being a 1st round running back. I think I'm going to be extremely out. But we will certainly see. So,
yeah. The one thing with Lemon for me is people it's fun to hate on Jalen Hurts, but people fail to realize 4 years in a row he's had 2 1,000-yard receivers on his team that he is responsible for. With AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, obviously those 2 guys are fantastic wide receivers. I'm not saying Makai Lemon will be able to slide right into getting 1,000 yards as a rookie, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had close to 850 to 900 yards as a rookie. Right now, at the big board price, he ended the big board season at 64. Right now, Underdog has him at 74. So they're projecting a 10 pick slide for him. I imagine rankings projectors, I feel like they might be in line with underdog right now for that.
Yeah.
But,
I think somewhere like 75 to 80 probably is, because I think he'll project decently well. Like it's just going to be the Stowers Goedert will muddy it a little bit. Like if they didn't have Stowers, I think the projection would look a little bit better, but I think you just bet on the talent there and just like, hey, good team, obviously not the best passing game, but still solid enough. And just, yeah, I'm pretty into Lemon. So I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. Of the four on the screen, like Lemon would be the rookie that I would target the most out of these four guys. So
I just gotta hit the bathroom really quick. So sorry, give me.
You're good. Oh, you're good, man.
Keep vamping without me.
Yeah, of course. So up here we have the round 2 guys. Of course, the biggest surprise was Deshaun Stribling being drafted to the 49ers. I've seen, a huge comp to him was Juwan Jennings. So being able to, slide right into that role would be good. Seems like he'd be a good blocker for their run game. We'll see what happens. Denzel Boston to the Browns. I was saying this earlier. They have a youth movement going on. The weirdest thing is these tight ends. I don't think any of these. Eli Stowers might be a target if he falls in drafts, but we shall see. Let me take a look and see where. So, looks like Underdog does not have a ADP yet for Stribling. They have Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk is technically still on the roster, but we all know he's going to be leaving. Christian Kirk is on the roster. I could see Stribling being the wide receiver 3 on this team. Kirk lost his job to 2 rookies last year. Granted, some of that was being hurt. I think Stribling could pop into that role. I'm also not entirely sold on Ricky Pearsall yet either. That is something else that, that he could take the job from him. I highly doubt it. Obviously, that's, less of an issue, less of a probability than anything. But, we shall see. We shall see. But as far as these 4 tight ends go, Eli Stowers is the only one that really, piques any interest. And it would only be if I had Jalen Hurts and it's late in the draft and I need tight end help, or if I have a week 7 or whoever they're playing week 17, I need someone for a bring back and he's past ADP. I think that's the only way I'm thinking about targeting Eli Stowers here. Nothing against him. I think he's a great player and he's a big body for the red zone, but we'll see. So while you're gone, some of the things I was talking about was Stribling being the 33rd overall pick, which none of us expected. Taking a look at the receiver depth chart, I think he could battle Christian Kirk for that wide receiver 3 role. And the jury to me is still out on Ricky Pearsall. Yeah, we've seen flashes. Do I think Stribling could take the receiver 2 role? No, not at all. But I still think there's like a 15 to 20% chance it could happen.
Yeah, I think the thing, obviously like a very crazy pick, but the thing with the 49ers is like, it just truly doesn't matter. As long as you're on the field, like you're going to be good. Kendrick Bourne was having like 20-point weeks last year. He's a professional wide receiver, but like, he's obviously not super, super talented by any means. So I think with Evans being 33, chronic hamstring injuries, we know Ricky Pearsall has struggled to stay on the field. Kittle coming back from an Achilles, CMC another year older. Like Kirk, he's fine, but he's not like anything amazing. So it's like I don't even think he's a good player, but I'm just like, hey, good offense. He's young and explosive. Like it's kind of just playing into the contingent factor of all of that, and just like, hey, maybe he is better than we think. I don't think he is, but it could happen. So probably pretty late, I would take him. I think, I guess we'll see where the price ends up. If it's just like, hey, this guy got drafted very beginning of the second round, we're going to push him up, then I'll probably be out. But I think there's still some appeal just basically based on the offense for me. So
yeah, I agree. And plus with his ADP right now, based off of what Underdog has up there, is just a little dash, no ADP, and they still have his projection at 0. So until he says, until ranking providers hear stuff from training camp, offseason workouts, we're going to see what happens. They have a pretty thin receiver room. They have a lot of guys that battle through injury, like you said. So we'll see what happens with them. I would not be surprised, though, if he did have a spike week of like 20 plus fantasy points, at least once or twice in the season.
And that's really all you need. If it's cheap enough, then I think he's still every year we see these guys where just like they do nothing all year, and then in the fantasy playoffs they break off a couple big games. So nothing special, but definitely he's on the menu at least. So
yeah. Honestly, Stribling and Stowers are the only two guys in the round selected in round 2 that I have any interest in drafting. And I was saying when you're usually in the restroom, Stowers for me, it's only if I've drafted Jalen Hurts and I need help at tight end and he's there really late, or if I need something for a week 17 bring back and he's fallen. I think that's the only way I would be taking Eli Stowers. I do think he could take Goddard's job at the end of the year, like Fannin and Njoku type of thing. But Goddard is still a good tight end. He's better than Njoku was last year. So we'll see what happens with that. Do any of these guys on the screen right now, scream out to like target at the end of the drafts, or are you not touching any of them?
I think Klare, 18th round. I did like him coming in as a prospect for sure. Obviously, it's kind of a muddy situation, but good offense. Like maybe they cut one of the other guys, and he just he can score some touchdowns. So definitely him. Klein and the guy from the Jaguars, I don't think I'm even interested at all. Stowers, probably 18th round. You can tack him on. Boston, I'm a little more interested in Boston. I think, similar to the KC Concepcion thing, like I think it's actually not a pretty good situation. He is the kind of guy where he can play X. He can, just be running routes. Is it the best thing to have, as with Shedeur Sanders as your quarterback? Probably not. But I think it's probably Boston, Concepcion, and Judy as the starting wide receivers there. So I think he can definitely provide some value depending on where his cost ends up. And I wasn't the biggest fan of him as a prospect, but he definitely had some upside. And if the team is just a little bit better than we think, they're not just bottom of the barrel, I think it could be pretty interesting. The Browns situation is actually other than the quarterback, it's actually pretty exciting. You look at Concepcion, Judy probably gone after this year now, considering they drafted these two guys. But Harold Fannin, Judkins, their offensive line is should be not worst of the league. It should be middle of the pack, maybe top 20 at least. So going into next year, if they kind of add a quarterback and early in the draft and add some more offensive linemen, I think it's actually sneaky, very fun. So. Jeremy, not super interested in, but I think we're still kind of painting the old Steelers Arthur Smith offense onto the Steelers when it's going to be a lot more pass heavy, I believe. I don't know. It's probably not a lot of targets just with the other guys around him and just not the best offense. So yeah, all the Jeremy bags from the big board aren't looking amazing, but 18th round.
Stribling and Stowers are the only two that I think are, I would take Boston if I had some Cleveland stuff going on, but those three are the only, fantasy viable out of the 7 that were drafted in the second round that, fantasy eligibility. So these are some round 3 guys. I just picked some guys from round 3 that I thought were interesting. Caleb Douglas and Chris Bell, both going to the Dolphins. I think I saw Hayden Wink's tweet when the Dolphins drafted Caleb Douglas. He had no idea who he was, which, I mean, if Hayden Winks doesn't know who it is, then it's like, who is this guy? So Chris Bell is interesting to me for the Dolphins. I mean, they might be the worst team in the NFL this year. They could be the first team to go 0-17.
Yeah, they might be 0-17. I'm going to be honest. Like, they're going to be really bad. They're going to be passing. I mean, it's weird because it's like Malik Willis. Their goal is going to be to run it more with HN and Willis, but I think they're just going to be down, so they're going to end up getting their passing volume up. But I agree. I like Bell. I think super talented player, obviously coming off the injury, but for, end of the season, if he just kind of explodes onto the scene, I think he's super talented, and we could see him. ACLs now are obviously each one is its own unique little butterfly, but I think it's not as big of a deal as we previously had seen, especially for elite athletes like Chris Bell. So I'll be into Bell probably because he'll be pretty cheap. Douglas, I mean, I can't do it, man. I'm sorry. It's not happening.
I don't know. So the only thing I really want to bring up from this slide was Carson Beck and Drew Aller. Do you think Beck will start any point in the season over Jacoby Brissett?
I can see it happening down the stretch of just like the season's over. I mean, it's going to be over from the start, obviously, but just to see what they have. I mean, just give them 5 games, 6 games, something, just to like let them cook. I would say probably, yeah. It's more so an indictment on Jacoby Brissett than a guy I want to draft, but just like maybe you were thinking, hey, it's Minshew is the only other guy. Like it'll probably just be Brissett the whole season. I do think if you draft a guy in the 3rd round, you're like, we're going to give him a shot to at least play some games this year before we take someone else next year. So,
yeah, I agree. I think we see Beck, Minshew, and Brissett. I think we see all 3 of them at some point this year. This could be tough, not. Drew Aller, though, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, do you think he's the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026?
I mean, who are the other options right now? It's the other guy, Will Howard from a couple years ago.
Will Howard and Mason Rudolph. Will Howard and Mason Rudolph are the only 2 options.
I would say it's probably one of the veteran guys. I just don't think I like Drew Aller is talented, but he's definitely a project. So I don't think I wouldn't be taking any Drew Aller. Like even if Rodgers isn't there, like I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze there for sure. So
of the 4 names I didn't mention between Antonio Williams, Malachi Fields, Jacoby Lane, or Chris Brazell, do any of those 4 stand out as someone you would target in drafts?
I think the only one I would really be interested in would be Antonio Williams, just because there's probably a little bit of just offensive upside there. Lane, if it was just either Lane or Elijah Sarratt that were drafted to the Ravens, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm drafting that guy. But because it's both, it's like in Dynasty, I'll probably be taking them just because like you can just whatever. If they do hit, it's like kind of a big win. But here, just with the projection, it's like you don't know which one's going to be. I liked both of them, and that's pretty gross. Brazell, I think it's pretty tough. Like I think he's just going to be like a wind sprinter. So maybe 18th round, you just draft him and he can, score a couple long touchdowns in that archetype that we see pay off. But Fields, I don't really care. Like, I don't think he was that good to begin with. And then with that landing spot with Neighbors and Likely and just the other, I mean, even Mooney and Slayton aren't great, but like they can just be better than Fields. So yeah, maybe 18th round for Brazil and Antonio Williams, depending on how much he gets steam just based on the landing spot. If Ayuk doesn't end up going there, then maybe he gets pushed up a little bit, but also kind of a slot only type. So I don't know if the upside is super high. But at least good. I don't know. I like the landing spot. I do like the player, but it's just limited upside kind of player. So
yeah. So I found 5 guys that interested me, rounds 4 through 7 at the running back position. To me, Nick Singleton, I like him a lot. I mean, Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, they're not the best running backs in the world. Tyjae Spears, he's still always, I feel like his yearly, like, has a hamstring or something to do with his, not having any knees. So I think Nick Singleton is someone who could have some impact year one towards the end of the season. And God, I hope so, because I have 30% of him in the big board. Adam Randall is someone else that I could see if Derrick Henry went down. He's 6'3", he's 250. He converted from receiver to running back. It's very clear to me that he's their direct handcuff to Derrick Henry. I don't think the other 2 guys, Justice Hill or Ali, would be able to, pick up that 2-down role. Of these 5 guys, are there any that stick out to you?
I think the top 3 are definitely interesting. Coleman to the Broncos. I mean, Dobbins has obviously not been the picture of health, and I think in the kind of like early down role, it's not RJ Harvey's role at all. So definitely interested in Coleman. I mean, good offense and just a guy that kind of does all the dirty work, little things very well. So I think he's interesting for sure. Emmett Johnson on the Chiefs. I think you can say the same thing about Kenneth Walker. Like, I think when he's healthy, he's going to get a pretty crazy workload. But if Emmett Johnson just kind of takes some of the receiving game role and has contingent upside, I think that's super interesting. And Singleton, I think it's definitely interesting based on, like you said, not 2 solid running backs, but nothing amazing. So I definitely think last round, he's very interesting just based on the talent. So
yeah, I agree. Then I have rounds 4 through 7 receivers. Go ahead and ignore Malik Benson and Cyrus Allen. They're not even in the player pool. But both Deion Burks and Skyler Bell are. I was interested in Malik Benson. He's the only receiver the Raiders drafted. They have a new head coach. It seems like they could give him a shot, especially since he's a 7th rounder isn't even guaranteed to make the team. But the receiver room is nothing to cheer for. So, I was hopeful we can get some late Malik Benson with our Fernando Mendoza. But for me, with Cyrus Allen, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, they won this draft. With how many times people were mocking the Chiefs to get a receiver. Yes, there's a chance they could sign a veteran guy. We might see the Tyreek Hill reunion. But what else? The Deion Burks or Skyler Bell? No.
I think Skyler Bell, I mean, I think he could be fine. Like, I know I never dug super deep into his profile, but I mean, it sounds like he's kind of Khalil Shakir-esque type of guy. So kind of tough just with more Shakir, all the other just kind of guys they have in that room. So probably not a best ball type guy. Maybe round 18 based on just how many targets is he realistically going to get. But definitely dynasty, fourth round, a guy worth, maybe next year he falls into the slot receiver role there, and gets some more targets. I can definitely be interested in that. But Benson, what round is Benson even taken? Because it could be something. Could be something.
Benson and Cyrus Allen aren't in the player pool. I just looked at it.
You just
those two guys are out of the picture. Benson, to me, he was a 7th rounder, but it's the only receiver the Raiders took, and the receiver room is nothing.
Brother, it's Jack Bech. So. It's Jack Bech season. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Who knows? So with it being the fantasy football classroom, you came in with a bell ringer. Before you leave my classroom, I need you to answer an exit ticket for me. I have 2 questions for you before we end. Which rookie ADP will be impacted the most in Best Ball Mania 7?
Sorry, rephrase. What is that? What is the actual meaning of impacted most? Rise the most?
Yeah, who's gonna rise the most, or who's gonna fall the most based off of their landing spot in the NFL draft?
Ooh.
You can give me one riser, one faller if you'd like as well.
Yeah, let me just pull up a list.
You're good.
So I can even think about it. Who's going to rise the most? Stribling, maybe? Oh, no, it'll probably be just from big board to Best Ball Mania, or over the course of the whole summer? Sorry, I think you already answered that, but
either one. I didn't really specify, but whichever.
I think Price, I think Price will just obviously be a huge riser, and he might even go higher. I think as we get closer to August and people are just like, oh, the Seahawks, they took a running back in the first round and they won the Super Bowl last year. I can just see it getting pretty crazy. And then which veteran ADP will be impacted the most? I think Pollard will probably rise at least a few rounds. Obviously the other way, Algier, we talked through that of just him completely going down. I think Skattebo might. I was so anti Skattebo because I'm just okay, free agency and the draft. Before that, I'm just what are the chances, doing the permutations in my head, what are the chances they just don't bring in anyone? I thought it was pretty low that they wouldn't draft anybody or sign anyone in free agency, and they kind of just were showing that they were interested in doing that. So maybe it was all a smoke screen, maybe it just didn't all work out, but we don't know the injury stuff and where it'll land. I think it might be a little slower than people are hoping for because everyone just loves Skattebo, but I am back in. I think he could rise super, super high if we get good injury news. I think he could go 3rd round probably. I think
I agree.
I think the sky, the roof is the sky is the ceiling for Skattebo because people just love him. And if we get, a couple camp clips, some stuff going on, and we are just hey, the ankle's trending the right way, he's going to be ready for week 1, or just, what I mean? I think he could shoot up 3 rounds, probably some 2-3 rounds from where he was going at the end of big board season. So.
No, I agree. His big board ADP ended at 59, and the 2026 season rankings that they already have on Underdog's website, they have him sitting at 58. That's not going to if you're drafting in the first few days, take Skattebo anytime he's in the 50s, because that is not going to be his price in July and August. So. I don't even think Skattebo is that good of a running back. I think he's replaceable, but for what he showed last year and what this offense is supposed to ascend to this year, with Dart in his 2nd year, Neighbors coming back healthy, Skattebo and even Tracy, I think, are both values at their current prices. Bindles, do you have anything before we exit out here?
Yeah, I think just the Browns. I think that's the big one for me, where I'm just like, we have the Browns. We all know they have sucked, and I just think with the two quarterback options, it's not going to be amazing, but I think there's a lot of talent on that offense now, and I think because of the Browns stink, they'll all just be pretty cheap. So I'm pretty in on the Browns pieces. You don't even necessarily need to take the quarterback, obviously. And then I'm a Lions fan. I kind of wanted them to take the other offensive tackle, Monroe Freeling, instead of Blake Miller, but he's such a Lions pick, the Blake Miller guy who started like 54 games or something crazy. I think it was a down year for the Lions last year. Just injuries, not their year. I think they're going to be a big bounce back this year. Obviously, they're all pretty priced up, so like not like a super huge thing you can take advantage of. But I think Laporta maybe is probably I think he could be one of the best picks on the board if he's just healthy. I don't think J-Mo goes to zero, obviously, but I definitely think J-Mo, part of his like big breakout last year was the fact that Laporta was hurt. So just all pieces of Lions, whoever their RB2 ends up being, I think is a very good click as well. I don't really trust that it's going to be Pacheco. Like anybody can just get cut. Like it could be fucking Kareem Hunt. It could be anyone. But yeah, draft some Lions, draft some Browns would be my two takeaways.
No, love to hear it, man. Thank you for stopping on. I do appreciate you carving out time of your Sunday to join with me. But yeah, have a good one.
Thanks. Appreciate you.